Domo, Atsenpai desu.
Yeah, I know. And it's finally here. The most requested tutorial video ever since the creation of this channel.
Took you long enough. It's been forever.
I'm terribly sorry for how late my shading tutorial is, but I would like to have a word on that. 俺はわかるなよね. It's not my fault that our body has so many parts, and I have to make so many videos on them. Am I right? Right?
Which is why I feel like I don't have to apologize for anything.
Well, memes aside,
a wise African man once said, learn to walk before you run.
You gotta learn about the basic anatomy first before you can shade it. For now, you might not understand what's the connection between anatomy and shading, but just watch to the end of the video and you will know why.
My line art is okay, but everything turns upside down once I color it. I guess I should become a mangaka instead of an illustrator.
No, you don't suck at coloring, you suck at shading. This is what you guys would do when you shade. Am I right? What are you, a 9-year-old? A lot of you might think this way. To be good at shading, you must be good at imagination, because you have to imagine whether shadows are formed based on the light source. But you know, we're not Blender or any 3D computer graphics software. We don't go
beep, analyzing portrait, calculating shadow angles, installing hentai for reference, beep.
As human beings, we can only guess. Yes, you heard me right. Shading is a guessing game. But in order to ensure the accuracy of our guesses is high, we have to understand the fundamentals of shading. There are 3 types of shadow. The first type is form shadow. Form shadow is a shadow caused by the planes turning away from the light source. Cast shadow, on the other hand, is due to the blocking of light source. There's usually a softness at the edge of the cast shadow, because shadows tend to get softer when they're further away from the object. The third shadow is occlusion shadow. Occlusion shadow is the darkest shadow and it's formed when 2 surfaces are very close to each other. Now we move to lighting. There are 4 types of light: form light, halftones, center light, and highlight. Form light is the direct opposite of form shadow. Form light occurs when the light source directly shines on the object. As for halftones, they gradually darken as the form turns away from the light source. Center light is the area that directly faces the light source. Highlight is the reflection of the light source which is only visible on reflective materials. Common examples are the highlight on the hair and the eyes. The line that separates the light and form shadow is called the terminator. No, not that one. Along the terminator, you will also see a core shadow. Core shadow is the darker shadow on the object itself, not including cast shadow or occlusion shadow. Many people thought that form shadow is the darkest, but it's actually not, due to the reflection of light. Reflection is when the light bounces off an object, which helps to brighten the form shadow a bit. Congratulations! You have learned all the basics of shading and light under a minute. You're welcome. Are you guys still with me? I hope you're not lost, because it will only get worse, so buckle up. Now that we have finally understand the fundamentals of light and shadow, how can we translate this knowledge to our etchy drawings? Shading is what makes a character look 3D and gives it a sense of depth. Now, here's a cylinder. Let's forget everything that we've learned just now and focus on two-tone shading.
Joke's on you. I didn't remember a single damn thing.
Two-tone shading consists of 2 parts, the light part and the dark part. Forget everything that I said about core shadow and cast shadow. We'll discuss them later on. With this drawing as an example, the first step is to draw the geometries. Remember I told you Kohais that you gotta learn about the basic anatomy first before you can move on to shading. This is the part where anatomy and geometries come into play. We use spheres to represent our head, boobs, shoulders, or elbows, and cylinders for our arms, neck, and fingers, cubes for body, etc. For those who still don't know which shape to use when drawing different body parts, you can click this playlist here to get teleported. So back to the drawing. Firstly, we must establish a light source. You can put your light source anywhere you want, but for this demonstration, I'm going to keep it simple and set it here. If your light source is at the left side, then your right side should be covered in shadow, because the body is blocking the light. Then, you can roughly shade based on the shape of the geometry. This is extremely important because the curvatures and angles of different geometry shapes will determine the size and shape of your shadow. After that, the next step is to add our cast shadow. This is the part where your imagination is put to the test. You have to guess which part of the body is blocked by the light source, causing a cast shadow. Cast shadow is usually caused by the elpi, head, etc. Now you can start to feel the 3Dness of this character. Next, hide the geometry layers and show the character line art instead. From there, you just need to add some cast shadows such as the shadow on the face caused by the nose, the shadow on the forehead caused by the bangs, the shadow on the clothes caused by the up eye, the shadow on the clothes due to wrinkles, etc. There's too much to cover, but you get the idea. With this, a simple two-tone shading is done. Now, we can add the remaining shadows. Remember core shadow? Yes, the darker shadow on the object itself. With that in mind, we need to deliberately darken the terminator and add some reflective light to brighten the form shadow here. Then, use a spraying tool to add the halftones to make our shadow look natural. Finally, we add some occlusion shadow at the part where the light couldn't reach, such as the gaps between the hair, etc. What's left is adding details.
No, not this phrase again.
You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
Jokes aside, what's next really depends on your drawing skills. As I told you cool eyes before, the more you draw, the more details you're capable of adding. Just keep grinding, my cool eyes. By implementing all the shading knowledge we've learned just now, you'll probably get something like this. Or maybe not.
Bonus tips.
I notice many of you are not confident enough to use a darker color for shading.
Why? Not to understand.
Because of this, your drawing looks like a malnourished goblin. To give you an example, this is an illustration drew by Sama. If we zoom in and look carefully at the details, it seems like he had a little bit too much vodka when he made those strokes. But if we zoom out and look at the bigger picture, you won't notice those details from earlier, and you'll be blown away by his godlike execution of light and shadow instead. So the lesson is, maybe it's better to focus on the bigger picture instead of placing so much emphasis on adding details. Alright, that's all for this shading tutorial. I hope you cool guys like it. There's actually a lot more stuff I didn't manage to cover in this video, such as the big tree shading techniques. So if you cool guys want me to cover these topics, make sure to comment down below.
Please drop a like, subscribe to my channel, and follow me on Twitter. DM me if you want a commission from me. Alright, that's all from me. Jana, cool guys.